welcome students. Let's continue our chapter Stars and the Solar System. Today we will discuss the last topic of our chapter, that is artificial satellites. See students, we have discussed about the satellites. Satellites are the celestial bodies which revolve around the planets. Like moon revolves around the earth and moon is our satellite, but it is a natural satellite. Now we will talk about artificial satellites. So basically, artificial satellites are the man-made spacecraft that are placed in the orbit around the Earth. And these are man-made satellites because they are made by the man, they are made by the humans. So artificial satellite is placed in orbit around the Earth with the help of a launch vehicle, with the help of a rocket. What happens? Rocket carries the artificial satellite from the Earth to a height of a few hundred kilometers or sometimes 1,000 kilometers above it and gives it a sideways push. And that because of that sideways push, satellite starts moving in an orbit around the Earth. Here we are having a picture of artificial satellite. So the motion of artificial satellite around the Earth, then it is maintained by the gravitational pull of the Earth. And artificial satellites keeps on revolving around the Earth continuously without stopping. So this artificial satellites revolve around the Earth just like the natural satellite moon. Now, there's a difference between the artificial satellite and the natural satellite. That means about the moon and our artificial satellite. The artificial satellites are much nearer to the Earth than the natural satellite moon. And the height or the distance of an artificial satellite from Earth and the speed around the Earth that can be adjusted as per our needs. That means we can um, keep the distance as is required by us. We can maintain the height of the artificial satellite as per our needs. And this is not possible with the natural satellite of Earth that's fixed. Its distance is fixed, right? And these artificial satellites, they carry a large variety of equipments and instruments inside them. Say they carry sound and picture relaying machines, they carry cameras, infrared sensors, telescopes, many other type of instruments required for doing great jobs. And you know that equipment, every instrument requires some kind of energy for its working. So what happens in artificial satellite, the electricity that is required for running these equipments that are present in the satellite, that electricity is provided by the solar cells. Solar cells convert sunlight into electricity, and the equipments run in an artificial satellite. Now, India has built and launched many artificial satellites. Like the first artificial satellite that's launched by India was Aryabhata, and it was launched in 1975. There are some other Indian satellites like Bhaskara, INSAT, IRS, Rohini, Kalpana, first AduSat. INSAT is actually the Indian national satellite, okay, and IRS stands for Indian Remote Sensing Satellite, and EduSat, EDU, it stands for Education Satellite. And the agency which is responsible for development of these space science programs in our country is Indian Space Research Organizations, that is ISRO. Now, students, a question arises in our mind that why do we need artificial satellite? What is the function of these satellites? Now, before we give the various uses of artificial satellites, we should know the meaning of the term remote sensing. So, remote sensing is actually a technique of collecting information about an object from a distance. That means without making any physical contact with the object, collecting its information, that technique is known as remote sensing. So, remote sensing satellites can scan the Earth's surface very closely with their cameras, with infrared sensors, even while orbiting high above the Earth. They can see the details on the earth even after fraction of a meter. Okay, so let's discuss the important applications of artificial satellites. So it has many practical applications which help our lives in many ways. And the first one we can say is that the artificial satellites are used for weather forecasting, like rainfall, snowfall, for getting or for giving advance warning of floods and cyclones. Weather forecasting is done by using artificial satellite called weather satellites or meteorological satellites, which are a kind of remote sensing satellites. Okay. Next, the artificial satellites. These are used for um, communication, such as like long distance transmission of television programs, radio programs, um, telephone calls, in fact, internet. So, the artificial satellites used for communication purposes are communication satellites. The artificial satellites are used for surveying the natural resources of the earth, like minerals, agricultural crops, where the natural resources are present. In fact, potential fishing zones to survey them in the sea. This is all done by using the artificial satellites like remote sensing satellites. Okay, it's also used for spying for military purposes, like observing the movement of enemy troops, military equipments, taking pictures of enemy airfields. Okay, so remote sensing satellites are used for spying for military purposes. In fact, these artificial satellites are used to collect information about other planets, stars, galaxies, and the artificial satellites then are used for studying celestial objects, so are called astronomy satellites. So this was all about the artificial satellites, and uh, with this we conclude our chapter.